Hey everyone, here again with Colin Mason, Mason Finance Group here on the Sunshine Coast. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Living the dream on the sunny coast, as they say,
Absolutely.
with this lovely weather.
Well, not lovely weather.
Mate, business is good. I wanted to talk to you today about a couple of things you sort of suggested, which is number one, stamp duty, and
Yes.
also number two, tax time.
Yes, yeah. So stamp duty, we had some changes for first home buyers as of the 9th of June. So
Yep.
first home buyers used to get a stamp duty concession up to the value of $500,000 on established homes or brand new homes being bought as a brand new home.
Yep.
And you had a pro rata concession back to them if they spent between 500,000 and 550,000. The government's now increased that, so $700,000 is the new threshold for a full stamp duty waiver for first home buyers if they're buying an established home or a brand new home, and then they get a pro rata now up to $800,000. So it's obviously jumped up quite a lot, which is fantastic news for first home buyers. It just means that their deposit now works a little bit harder for them as well, where they're not having to save that 5% deposit in a lot of these cases now, and then having to cover the cost of stamp duty on top. And to give you an idea, if you're spending up around that sort of $700,000, it's around about, I think it's about $17,000 of stamp duty now they don't have to pay. So it is quite a good saving back in their pocket.
Okay.
On the flip side, if they're buying land, the stamp duty concession on land was up to $250,000 for a full stamp duty waiver. And then they had a concession up to $400,000, where now that's changed now where it's up to $350,000 now, which is great. So that's a full stamp duty waiver, and then they get a pro rata waiver up to the $500,000 in land value now. So again, those thresholds have bumped up quite a lot, which is fantastic. Just means again that the deposits are working harder for the first home buyers, right from the outset.
Which is great news, because it is challenging now for first home buyers, as you know, that I'm dealing with, to get into the market, particularly in that 700 category on the Sunshine Coast. Very hard to find something very competitive in that category.
Well,
so having that savings.
And as you can imagine before, they only had up to $500,000 to find something to get a full stamp duty waiver, which, as we know, on the Sunshine Coast is very hard to find something for under that value.
Yeah. I often get calls from buyers looking around for that, 500,000. I'm just like, it's going to be very hard to find something. And they get snapped up very quickly for that price. So you're looking at, for first home buyers, for houses, I'm just going to recap what you just said. So for first home buyers, whether it's a new build or an established home, up to $700,000, which saves them roughly $17,000 in stamp duty.
Yep,
which they can then put towards the purchase, and the pro rata up to $800,000. How does that work, the pro rata part?
So they work out basically what the normal stamp duty would be, and then they give you a part concession. So you still get a first home concession up to $800,000. So you need to use the calculators to work out exactly what that concession is. But it might be that you get, say you spend $750,000, you might have to pay $10,000 of stamp duty, but you might get also $12,000 or $13,000 back as a concession. So again, it depends on what you spend, but it means that you're not paying the full rate of stamp duty unless you go up to $801,000, for example, then when you do.
Okay, perfect. And then the good news on the land front as well. Now, this is the case for first home buyers in Queensland with the stamp duty?
Just in Queensland, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and it doesn't differ whether you're in regional areas or city?
It doesn't differ. So you can be anywhere in Queensland now, yet the same stamp duty rules apply.
That's perfect. So on the note of first home buyers, what other things at the moment can help with people in that space looking to buy their first home?
Yeah, look, it's just getting their borrowing capacity checked. I think I might have mentioned this last, our last blog that we did. So I think getting your borrowing capacity checked is super important at the moment. We have had some wins just of probably the last couple of months now, where like a lot of people on the Sunshine Coast are casually employed. And in a lot of cases, casual employees move around different jobs all the time. We've now got lenders that will consider casual employment 1 week in the current job, as long as we can show a history of 6 months in the same type of industry that they're in now. And then we take 6 months worth of salary credits that they've earned over that 6-month period, and then work out an average income. And then we extrapolate the income out to be a 12-month salary. And that's the income that we can use. So there are banks there now that are being a bit more lenient on casual employee income, which is fantastic, because a lot of people, like I said, on the Sunshine Coast are casually employed.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's good news. And tax time, what's the advice here around tax time? What should people be thinking about?
Yeah, look, it's that time of year again, for self-employed businesses or people that are having to do their tax returns. The thing when you're self-employed, once you lodge your tax returns to the ATO, that's basically it. You can't change your income, you can't change your expenses, you can't do anything after that. So we've got that income to use for the next 12 months until you do your next round of tax returns. What we've said to self-employed people leading up to now is if they're looking to borrow money in this financial year, go and have a chat with your accountant, get all your tax returns drafted up, so your profit and loss, which is your financial statements, also your company or business tax returns and your personal tax returns. But don't go and lodge them to the ATO just yet. Come in, have a chat with one of the brokers here. We'll have a look at what those numbers look like on your borrowing capacity. So we'll run it through the calculators and let you know what you can borrow. And it might mean that you can have a chat to your accountant about maybe making any variations to that, just so that you've got the income there to help you then purchase a property this current financial year without having to obviously sit there in a holding pattern for the next 12 months.
And the waiting again, yeah. Okay, good advice. Looking ahead at the market at the moment, I know we discussed this last time as well. I've certainly seen a little bit of a pickup in activity, my end, in the since we last spoke. On the lending front, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, look, I mean, the lenders are pretty much status quo at the moment. We've seen fixed rates increasing over the last couple of weeks. That's due to just the cost of funding for fixed rate loans going up over the last few weeks. So banks have obviously taken it upon themselves now to increase fixed rates. So you're getting fixed rates now that sort of start in that high fives, go well into the 6s and 7s. Variable rates are still pretty much on par with what they were, a few weeks ago. So still starting around that sort of high 5s into the 6s as well. Yeah. Lenders' timeframes were a little bit slow coming into the end of the financial year, but we're now seeing some lenders issuing approvals within 4 to 6 hours once we get, say, a contract to them. So very quick turnaround timeframes. And a lot of the lenders now are digital, which means that even the mortgage documents that you have to sign for the Queensland government are now digital. So that means you can do it on your phone. So we've had settlements that have turned around in less than 3 weeks from start to finish because the sort of format of the process now, being that everything is digital, is so much quicker.
Okay. If you have a client that's pre-approved and they're putting a contract on the house, what sort of timeframes do you think is fair? Is it still 14 days or?
No, definitely 7 days in my opinion. Most banks, once you're pre-approved, that's why we're very big advocates for pre-approvals, because it's sort of, it positions clients with a level of comfort so that when they go out there to open homes and they have a look at properties on the weekend, they know how much they can spend, they know how much they can borrow and what deposit they need as well. And like I said at the start of this vlog, is you've got now stamp duty concessions as well for first home buyers that now come into play. But most lenders will be, well and truly within 7 days for a finance approval if you're already pre-approved.
And great news. So, and I think it's really important for buyers too, like if you are making an offer on a house and you can put down 7 days for building and pest, 7 days for your finance based on your pre-approval, it puts you in a much stronger position to purchase.
Oh, and that's why I say to clients all the time, anyone that's looking to buy a property, don't come back after you get a contract, because the chances are you won't get a 7-day approval. It'll be longer than 7 days. But it just, it means that they understand what they can borrow. And I think that's super important. Like, I think if you can put better terms on a contract because you have done your research and your due diligence up front, it makes the offer process much more comfortable.
Makes perfect sense. That's great news, mate. Lots of interesting insights there. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no, it's all positive at the moment. It's definitely, we're seeing a bit of an up sort of lift in lending at the moment as well. As I said, the banks are still lending money. There's no issues with that at all. They're tweaking policies as well. So it's probably a lot more positivity out of the lending market over the last month or two.
Yeah, I have seen just through a few transactions recently, a lot more valuation requests happening as well. Have you got any insight on that?
Yep. So valuation requests, we have. I mean, a lot of the banks are still doing desktop valuations, which is not a bad thing because it speeds up the process. But yeah, the valuation process we control here. So we're doing probably more valuation requests for customers that have got existing equity in homes. They're wanting to see, whether they can go and buy their investment properties or using equity to put a pool in, for example. So we're doing more of that at the moment as well.
Okay, interesting. Good news, guys. Anything you need finance-wise, if you want to recalculate your current mortgage or you're looking to get one, reach out to the team at Mason Finance Group. They'll be sure to be happy to help you.
Absolutely. Call us any day.
Call us any day. Colin, great chat again. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries. Anytime. See ya.
Cheers. Bye.